Kennedy, who will take us through the session, and then from there now we can be able to start the session. Kindly remember to ensure that your microphones are on mute as we start and we continue with this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicholas. Morning, everyone. I don't know if I'm audible enough and everyone can see my screen. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible enough? All right.
Yes.
All right. So my name is Kennedy. I'm a business analyst at Kenya Climate Innovation Center. As you can see, we have a number of organizations under the Kenya Climate Innovation Center. We have Kenya Climate Ventures as well as KCIC Consulting. But today we are focusing on one of the programs that is being offered under Kenya Climate Innovation Center. That's the GreenBiz program. That's why you're having this info session today. So I believe the main reason why you've joined here is you are interested or you've heard about the GreenBiz program and want to learn more about what we do in our incubation and the acceleration program. And so this info session will be able to guide us through the application process, what is the criteria that what are we looking for, and what is it that we offer during these two programs. So maybe a brief background. So this GreenBiz program is funded under the Danish government, Royal Danish Embassy in Nairobi, that's DANIDA, and it runs from 2021 to 2025. And the DED that was signed was to finance or supporting climate technologies and related innovative business models, which was signed in 2020. And the primary focus of this program is to increase commercialization and scale up of climate smart businesses while creating decent jobs, increasing access to low carbon energy sources, increasing community household resilience to climate change, as well as other environmental and social benefits. And the program intends or the target is to support 300 businesses and creating over 3,000 job opportunities during the 5-year period. And why do we do this? This is as a result of the current need in Kenya, which one of them is that 5% of the Kenyan households have no access to electricity. Traditional biomass fuels are the primary source of cooking energy, with wood fuel accounting for 69% of total consumption, and more than 40% urban and 60% rural population lack access to clean water. 80% of the population has no sewerage connections, as well as no proper solid waste management mechanisms, while agriculture accounts for 75% of employment and over 25% of GDP, despite being affected by the effects of climate change, while forest covers in Kenya sit at 7% against a recommended global minimum of 10%. And what do we have to achieve? What is our measure of success? We want to create, we want to have 5,000 number of customers reached by these enterprises that we are going to support, 500,000 people accessing low carbon energy sources, 80% of clients supported adopting human rights principle, 200,000 tons of CO2 being mitigated, 300 businesses being established, 3,000 green direct and indirect jobs being created, 50,000 people accessing clean water, and revenues realized by these entrepreneurs of USD 10 million, while 60 businesses accessing financing from KCIC. And how do we deliver this? We deliver this through these 5 pillars, and one of them is access to finance. In KCIC, we have risk capital fund, one of them being proof of concept financing, early stage financing facility, Kenya Climate Venture Seed Fund, as well as third party financing. So this is through syndication, working capital and consumer finance facilitation. And this we will delve into detail along the presentation. We also offer advisory services. So this includes business trainings on financial tax investments. We also have events, and these events are aimed to gain exposure and access to new markets, and also offer trainings in marketing strategy and other business processes that the entrepreneur or the startup might require. We also have technical trainings. These are product design and development courses. We also have a role in an enabling environment, creating an enabling environment for these entrepreneurs, these enterprises, through policy support. That is through lobbying and advocacy, holding policy dialogues, research and development, as well as outreach and visibility. So partnerships, strategic partnerships, awards and competitions. Do run a couple of competitions and events and conferences. We also have a role to play in access to information. So access to information is very key to any business. And so market information through market intelligence, sector trend analysis, competitive landscapes, as well as technology information, tech quality, as well as performance data. In regards to access to facilities, we have in-source. So that is, we have an office space at Strathmore Business School, where we have people who don't have office space have a co-working space, as well as it works as a good networking space, and also to offer intellectual property support. For outsourcing, we offer that support through testing and demos, working with strategic partners such as Kirdi, product design and adaptation, as well as prototyping. So what kind of entrepreneurs or what kind of enterprise are we targeting? So the program is targeting enterprises with a strong climate angle in the sectors of renewable energy and energy efficiency, agriculture, water, commercial forestry, as well as waste management. And these enterprises must contribute to the mitigation or adaptation to climate change and have a positive impact on the natural environment, including biodiversity. So mitigation, probably I'll go through here a bit quickly. So what are we saying mitigation is? So mitigation is the reduction in emissions of greenhouse emission into the atmosphere or absorption of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Adaptation, this is seeking to adjust to the natural and human environments to the likely disruption and damage that will result from climate change, and focus on the measures that will increase resilience of vulnerable sectors. And resilience is have the capacity of social, economic, and environmental systems to effectively respond to climate-related disruptions or disaster. So maybe I'd like to delve a bit into the thematic areas, and I'll start with agribusiness. And in agribusiness, this is what we're looking out for. So businesses focusing in any of the following areas will be considered, but it's not limited to: promoting heat and drought resistant crops, sustainable climate resilient farming methods, energy efficient agricultural machinery and carbon neutral systems, efficient irrigation, water savings mechanism and technologies, climate friendly inputs, alternatives, for example, pesticides, organic fertilizers, and other field operations, post-harvest management technologies to prevent post-harvest losses in handling, storage, and transportation, the setup of early stage warning communication systems for agricultural purposes, for instance, IT solutions and other related technologies. Move to water management, and in water management, we look at solar filtration, desalination, promoting water conservation in areas subject to increased water stress due to climate change, innovative technologies in rainwater harvesting and storage, efficient irrigation technologies, biotechnology, water metering system, climate resilient supply and distribution of clean water and storage, treatment of water resources. Hello, kindly mute your mics. Hello?
Kindly keep your mic.
Hello.
Bana, meet yourself, Bana.
He's a troller, just get him out of the group.
Yeah, get him out.
Hello. Host, kindly mute that participant.
Kick him out.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Where was I? So climate resilient supply and distribution of clean water and storage to ensure access where water resources is limited due to climate change, treatment of water resources, So these are, for instance, recycling water and wastewater management systems. So on renewable energy and efficiency, we are looking for off-grid technology. This is solar PV, biogas, biomass and wind, microhydro. This is a domestic and rural mini grid use. Bioenergy, these are biodiesels, biomass power, energy efficient technology, clean cook stoves, energy metering and energy storage solution, and e-mobility, e-bikes, EVs running on renewable energy. On waste management, here we look at, but it's not limited to, efficient waste aggregation and recycling, reduction of waste toxicity, upcycling waste material, recycling waste material, conversion of waste to energy, economic ways of composting waste, as well as reduction of waste generation. So these are offering alternatives to the products that are currently out there in the market. In commercial forestry, the focus here is planting trees for commercial purposes on at least 3 acres of land, use of technologies to grow, monitor forest coverage that reduces deforestation and degradation, innovative practices in agroforestry that enhance agricultural landscape resiliency, commercial tree nurseries and seeds production facilities, efficient production, processing and use of wood raw material. And yeah, so the next slides are on eligibility, and Priscilla Mwindi will take us through that.
So thank you, Kennedy, for that. I'll take you through the eligibility criteria. So for the incubation program, the eligibility criteria are: 1, you have to be a limited company or a sole proprietorship, and you should be willing to register like in 3 months, and you should be operating and you're registered in Kenya. The second metric for criteria for the incubation program is businesses should be in the early stages of business development, and lastly, you should have an existing prototype. For the acceleration program, the eligibility criteria is: 1, you have to be a limited company, incorporated and operating in Kenya. Business should have a proven business model and a well-defined financial model. Thirdly, you should be post-revenue stage and also looking to raise capital, and you should have a team of 2 or more full-time employees. Next slide, please, Kennedy. So for the selection criteria for both programs, that's the incubation and the acceleration program 1, we look at the climate impact of the businesses, whereby we are saying the extent to which the business or the product or the technology should either be having an impact on climate mitigation or adaptation, and the environmental benefits of those businesses or products or technology. The second selection criteria is job creation. And that's the potential of the business or the product or the technology has towards job creation. The third selection criteria would be entrepreneur commitment, whereby we are looking at what's the role of the contact person in the company structure and the entrepreneur's investment into the project. That is time and the resources that the entrepreneur has put into the business. The fourth selection criteria would be looking at is innovation, whereby we'll be looking at the uniqueness of the product or service or the business model when it comes to combating climate change. And the fifth metric would be progress to date, whereby we'll be looking at what are the steps that have been taken by those businesses towards moving the innovation forward. That is, for example, the development stage of their prototype that they have in place. And lastly, we'll be looking at also how feasible are those business model. Those businesses should have a feasible business model that shows a clear and compelling mission to be able to grow sustainably and commercially. Yes, I'll send the next slide to Nicholas. You can take it up.
Yeah. Thank you, Priscilla, for that. I've seen quite a bit of chat on the chat, people asking for the presentation. Kindly note this will be shared after we are done with this meeting. So KCIC provides two types of financing. The first one is early stage financing, which is more.
Hey, Nicholas. Hey, Nicholas.
Pardon?
Kindly kick this man out.
Yeah. Sorry for that. I think Michelle, you can be able to lock the room. Anybody who hasn't yet joined the meeting, they can get the flyer online. We can just deal with the people who are currently here. So as I was stating, the financing mechanisms that we have is we have early stage financing mechanism, which is more of commercial financing for entrepreneurs that are looking for commercial funds to be able to scale up their businesses. These are especially companies that are in the growth phase of their businesses. So they have to be an early stage company that has been making steady revenues. The ticket size is between 1 million to around 10 million Kenya shillings. They need to demonstrate that they have a strong management team. Since we are a climate impact organization, the biggest thing that we're looking for is environmental impact. But aside from environmental impact, we have instances of social impact that are key to KCIC deliverable areas, which is job creation. We also have community engagement, and we also have farmer involvement, especially for the people under the agribusiness. People under the agribusiness arm of the thematic area. So they have to also demonstrate potential for being a profitable company in the long run, since this is commercial funding, and they need to have scale potential, that is clear growth scale plan and ready for market. Now, this is usually a debt, and it's usually for working capital and asset financing. Now, the biggest thing with early stage financing is once you've been admitted to KCIC, it is not guaranteed that you'll be able to get early stage financing. Early stage financing, you have to sit down with your business analyst, work on the business, and once the business analyst is able to assess the business holistically, from the business model all through to the impact metrics for the business, then one is able to access this financing if and only if the business analyst and the entrepreneur are in agreement that commercial funding is the way to go. So early stage financing is available for clients who are under the KCIC mentorship and incubation facilities and accelerator facilities, but it has to be a combined effort between the business analyst working with the entrepreneur and the entrepreneur themselves being able to show a track record of profitability, scale, environmental and social impact, a strong management team, and also being able to be an early company that is trying to grow. The other thing we have to realize is I usually concessional loans, so we usually do it at 6%. We usually do it at 6% per annum, which is below market rate, because banks usually provide people with the debt financing at around 13%, but ours we do it between 6 to 11%, depending on the business that we are currently supporting. Some businesses might be able to absorb early stage financing at 11% interest rate. Some businesses are quite early stage, so we try as much as possible to negotiate on behalf of the entrepreneur to ensure that we provide them with commercial financing that actually helps the business rather than be able to spoil the business. Also note that this financing is not guaranteed. It has to be a combined effort between the business analyst and the entrepreneur. I think we can go to the next one, Kennedy. The next one is proof of concept financing. Proof of concept financing now is a grant. The other one was commercial, but this one is a matching grant. A matching grant means that the entrepreneur also has to provide their own contribution towards this financing, and the financing is between 1 million Kenya shillings to 5 million Kenya shillings. Now, as the name suggests, it's a proof of concept grant. A proof of concept grant means that the business is quite early stage and they want to be able to pilot a specific business model, a specific new product in the market, that they can be able to assess the innovation, they can be able to assess the business potential, and also assess the positive impact to the environment and community. Now, the biggest criteria for you to qualify for proof of concept, you have to show us how different you are from other similar businesses in the market. That is, let's say you want to start selling avocados. Selling avocados is not an innovative business model, is not an innovative product. People are doing it and it's out there. So that doesn't qualify as a proof of concept. But let's say somebody has a new business model that nobody else is doing, and they want to be able to pilot that business model to see whether that business model is quite profitable for them. Now that's where the proof of concept financing comes in. So if you want to pilot a new product in the market, we'll be able to assist you with that. If you want to pilot a new business model, we're able to assist you with that. If you want to do market testing for a new product, let's say you've already refined your product, you have this product that you've never that is not in the market, and you want to do a market test to see the demand for the product, then that's where proof of concept also comes in. And the grant period is usually 1 year, whereby you have to sit down with your business analyst to come up with a grant work plan that can be able to assist you in terms of implementation. Also note that this financing is not guaranteed to everyone that joins the program. It's usually a combined effort between the entrepreneur and the business analyst who is working with the entrepreneur. Now, people might want to join the program to be able to access this grant financing mechanism that we have. But what you need to understand is for you to be able to access this financing, it has to be a need that you and the business analyst working. If you join the program, you are assigned a business analyst. That business analyst working together with you as the entrepreneur needs to be able to identify that need. If you're able to identify that need, then your case is usually presented to the board. And if it's presented to the board might approve and the board might not approve, depending on the kind of use of funds that you're looking for. So that's why I'm telling people it's not guaranteed that you'll be able to get financing from KCIC, but it's usually on a case-to-case basis, and it's usually very competitive because it depends. If we have 10 applications for people who want proof of concept financing, we usually look at the following criteria to see who meets this criteria the most, who has the best innovation, who has the most business potential impact, who has the impact to the environment and the community. We also look at how the funding is used. Some people might want to use the funding more as working capital, but that is not how we use our POC grant financing. Our POC grant financing is limited to people who are looking to pilot and people who are looking to test things in the market, because it's quite expensive for entrepreneurs to actually do this on their own as they are transitioning into commerciality. That's it regarding proof of concept. The other form of financing that we have, and I don't know whether it's mentioned in these slides, maybe I can just mention it, is we have Kenya Climate Ventures. Kenya Climate Ventures is usually our sister company. So we have KCIC, but we also have Kenya Climate Ventures. This is for entrepreneurs who are a bit advanced and our ticket sizes are a bit small for them. So people who are looking for anything above 10 million Kenya shillings up to a financing of around 50 million Kenya shillings, but mostly it's done through convertible financing. Convertible financing, that means you can do it as convertible debt, and you can also do it as pure debt for your business. So that's how KCV works. So they have their own application form and they have their own financing criteria. So if you're interested also into looking into them, you can just check out your website. We'll be able to share that with you once this presentation is over. Yeah, so that's basically it from the access to finance side. If you have any questions, you can drop them on the chat.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Yeah. So you just pick in your questions and we'll address them. And we'll also have a Q&A session after this. So just jot down whatever you have, and then we'll open up the Q&A session. But what is important to note is dates to note. The application deadline is 28th of this month. We'll have the selection of the finalists and the communication of the same from 1st to 10th April. And we anticipate to launch this cohort by end of April. So this service then will run from April 2022 all the way to March 2023. And how do you apply? Well, you just visit our website, that is www.kenyacac.org. You'll be able to read out the eligibility criteria and fill out the application form. So once you come here, you'll be able to see the GreenBiz program. And in case of any queries, so in case you find that the website is not responding or the form is not, it's misbehaving, let me put it that way, kindly do an email to info@KenyaCIC and we'll be sure to get back to you in regards to your request. So that ends our presentation. So I think we'll jump into the Q&A session. Some people had raised their hands as
I have a question.
yes, Mark.
What's the size of your deck?
Yeah, maybe I can be able to handle that question. In terms of the debt financing that we provide ticket sizes between 1 million to 10 million Kenya shillings. But if you're able to assess your business and see that your business is beyond our ticket sizes, we usually refer you to our sister company, that is Kenya Climate Ventures, whereby they have a limit of doing between tickets of above 10 million to around 50 million Kenya shillings.
Okay, great.
And we are also able to look for other organizations that are looking for a pipeline. So we're able to connect you with other potential funders. That's why I mentioned syndication, and we'll be able to offer support through transaction advisory on the same.
Hi, Kennedy. A quick one. I'm Charles Kariuki. This is with regards to the POC grants. You mentioned the range, the minimum amount is 1 million. Does this have to be in cash for the entrepreneur, or could it be considered in the event perhaps they're not compensating themselves? Kindly clarify on that. For those who do qualify, of course, to go through the incubation program.
Could you take that?
Yeah, so maybe I can be able to answer that. For the proof of concept, we usually accept the matching in two ways. We can accept the matching through cash, but we can also accept the matching through in-kind contribution from the entrepreneur. But we also have to put a monetary value to what the entrepreneur is contributing in kind. Because if you guys are the ones who are facilitating all the costs for the operation bit of it, then you have to be able to provide a monetary figure for that, so that we can be able to understand how actually the matching aspect of it is not for the entrepreneur to be able to just put money into the business. It's for us as KCC to be able to assess the commitment of the entrepreneur. So if you're being able to provide your support in kind, then we have to also monetize it to see how much of in-kind support are you providing, so that we can also be able to access, to be able to see the commitment of the entrepreneur. If KCC is willing to put in 1 million into your business, then an entrepreneur who is, let's say, putting in 5,000, you see there's a bit of discrepancy in terms of that, because we're not able to assess how much committed the entrepreneur is to the business. But if let's say KCC gives you a grant of 1 million, and then the entrepreneur comes with in-kind matching support of, let's say, 500,000, then you're able to see that the entrepreneur is actually putting in the work to be able to ensure that the business is working. So it's usually important to understand that you can do it in cash, you can also do it in kind, but also the in-kind support that you're bringing in, we should be able to sit down with the business analyst and monetize it to see how much of the contribution is the entrepreneur bringing on board. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, thanks, Nicholas. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Edwin had asked a question on explain more on the prototype. So what we require from you is at least to have a minimum viable product, something that we are, for example, able to support you, take you to an organization like Gearbox or Numerical or Kirby. They'll be able to further build up on it. So what we're saying about a prototype is something you've done at least something tangible. It's not as abstract as having it on paper, but there's something tangible, something that you've done at least that can an organization that does fabrication or even prototyping can be able to build up on. I don't know if that answers you, Edwin and Collins. Okay. As I look for other question, yes, should it be a limited or can the same be extended to cooperatives? So for KCC, we only work with limited companies. Or well, for GreenBiz program, we only work for limited companies. However, we have another program that's called Agribusiness. You can get more information about it on our website. So Agribusiness is basically the women in agriculture, and that caters for cooperatives, CBOs, sole proprietors, as well as even limited companies. But for the GreenBiz program, focus is solely on limited companies. And Anita asks, can an applicant apply for 2 different proof of concept ideas? No, Anita. So it's one, if it qualifies, it's 1 for 1 enterprise. So and that is if it qualifies for that support. Francis, if you are unable to apply, kindly do an email to info, the one I've shared, info@kenyacac.org, and you can see what you can do why you are unable to apply. Yes, can it be extended to companies limited by guarantee? As long as it's a limited company, so limited by shares, limited by guarantee, you can make an application. Do we have a finance between 100K to $500,000? Bob, no. For the GreenBiz program, and I'm assuming this is 100,000 Kenya shillings. No, we don't. So our financing, as Nick has mentioned, the early stage and proof of concept do not cover between 100 to $500,000 shillings. Question here from Robert: do you get a business analyst for help? Now, know what to apply? No. So the business analyst is assigned to you once you get into the program. So once you qualify and you're selected to join the GreenBiz program, then you're assigned a client lead who becomes a liaison person. And then they'll be able to work with you for a period of 1 year. Yes, Francis, the application form is in a form of a monkey survey. So just fill in the information there. So it comes in form of a survey. So that's the application form. On the Kenya Climate Venture is part of GreenBiz program. So other was convertible financing. So Kenya Climate Ventures is part of the whole KCIC group that includes Kenya Climate Innovation Center, Kenya Climate Venture, KCIC Consulting. And so what we do is we propose people who we feel are way above the ticket sizes that ESF is offering, that is up to 5 or 10 million shillings. And probably someone is looking for 30, 50 million shillings. So for those, we do recommend to KCV, Kenya Climate Venture. And convertible debt, convertible financing is a debt where at a later stage, it can either be, so you can either pay it as a debt or you can convert it, for simpler terms, you can convert it to equity.
What this shit is about.
Joyce is asking, you applied in the November. kindly do an email to info just for us to get clarification. Do we do site visits? Yes. So part of the due diligence process is we do visits. So it's not purely online. So we do visits to entrepreneurs to ascertain their existence, and what is being presented to us is actually what is on the ground. And yes, we get this presentation. Where are we located? We are located, as I mentioned, at Strasbourg Business School. So Boniface, you can look at the Agribusiness program. Okay. People who've raised your hands, you can just ask, just unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, George.
My name is George. I had two questions, ideally. So number one, in terms of you clarified on prototype, it should not be an abstract concept on paper. Okay, as I'm speaking for me as an individual, I will really like it ama ningeonelea vizuri if like you can maybe invest in software that can be able to convert the abstract concepts into models in such that even if someone is, like, for example, has a concept of a prototype, their engineering an availability of engineering software that can be able to help someone upscale or model or aongeze hile yenye ako nayo. Maybe do you have such facilities? And number two, in terms of rights to innovations, either through utility models or patency, in terms of your organization, how sensitive is this information?
Thank you, John. Maybe I'll start with the last one. So KCC does not take any stake, does not ask for any payment for services offered and rendered. And what we do in terms of IP, if you feel there's a bit of, you're not really confident, or what we do is we can sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, but we also offer support to people. Sorry about that. So George, we offer support for you to register your patents, your utility model, and those are entirely your assets. So we don't take any stake or anything from you. So you don't ask for any payments or take any stake for that support. For the other bits, for the first question that you asked in terms of prototyping, the thing is, you require a lot of sort of equipment and a bit of investment for you to actualize what you're saying. That's why you have organizations, for example, like Gearbox and Numerical, who are called experts in that. And so it becomes easier for us if you have what I mentioned, a minimum viable product, something small that you've done towards actualizing what the end product you want to do. And if we go now to them, they'll be able to build up on that. It becomes easy for them to build up on that. So I hope that answers your question. So Margaret asks, do members who participated in previous KCSE cohorts qualify for GreenBiz cohort? So that probably in a different organization, because this is still the same cohorts that we've run since inception. And so if it's a different organization, well and good. If it's the same, then it does not qualify to join the GreenBiz.
Hi, yes.
Kennedy, maybe just to add on to that, we have a few clients who have been into our Agribusiness program, which is an incubation program. We usually open our Accelerator program to people who are in our previous Agribusiness program, but once you meet the criteria for Accelerator program, you are allowed to apply. But you have to meet the criteria. So when you're applying for Accelerator program, you have to check the criteria for Accelerator program. If you meet, then you can be able to to apply if you're in another KCC cohort. But it works from Agribusiness to GreenBiz, not GreenBiz Accelerator. But if you are previously in the GreenBiz cohort and you want to rejoin the cohort, then it does not work.
Yeah. So there's someone asking a question.
Yes, Nicholas, this is Anita. Thank you for your presentation. I just have two questions related to the proof of concept. So if one company is going in partnership with maybe two others, is that all right? And can one company be the lead in the application? And then the second question was about the prototype. So presumably for the proof of concept, a prototype is not necessary because the whole purpose of the proof of concept is to get to a successful minimum viable product, correct?
Nicholas, will you take that?
Yes, I can be able to take that. For the proof of concept, yes, you are right. It helps you get to a minimum viable product, but also there are people who are at the minimum viable product stage and they want to take it to the market stage and they need a bit of grant to be able to provide them with product development. So you need to be able to justify that on how product development will be able to take you to the market. The end result of that proof of concept is for you to be able to do a market testing. So for example, if today I'm inventing a biro that is, let's say floats, and I have a minimum viable product, the POC grant comes in handy to be able to help you maybe refine the product better. Then from there, now you can be able now to do more of a market test with that product to see whether there is actually demand for that specific product. If the POC fails, we as KCIC usually take that as learnings, and we advise the entrepreneur maybe to venture into another business that might actually help them in terms of generating revenues and income for themselves. If the POC is successful, then we have a perfectly commercial business that is ready to scale for growth. So the POC can be used for transitioning a product from minimum viable product all the way to a finished product that can actually go to the market. And it can also be used in terms of improving on an innovation that an entrepreneur has to be able to have a finished product that they can be able now to also go to the market and pilot. I hope I've answered you, Anita.
Yes, that's clear. And on the partnerships?
For the partnerships, we have a number of partnerships that can actually help you in the product development phase. We KCIC have been able to amass a number of partnerships, including Kirby, University of Nairobi, Numerical Machining, Gearbox, that have access to engineering software. They have access to fabrication equipment that an entrepreneur may need. So if you need introductions to this, KCIC usually facilitates that. And we usually also have something we usually call a technical assistance budget that actually helps the entrepreneur. Aside from the proof of concept financing, we have technical assistance budgets that is open to all entrepreneurs who are looking for technical assistance, be it branding, be it marketing, be it exhibitions, be it product development. Now, if you want to do product development through our TA, we usually advise you, maybe you can go to Kirby, get quotations, and then from there, the entrepreneur and KCIC can now sit down and see how much is the entrepreneur willing to contribute and how much is the KCIC contribute towards helping that client in terms of product development. So aside from financing, we have partnerships, and how we explore those partnerships is we have technical assistance budgets that we help our entrepreneur to unlock anything that might not be working for them, especially in terms of product development.
Okay, thanks, Nicholas. But that's very helpful. But I think my question was more in the application form. Yeah. If one company wants to do a partnership go in with maybe two other companies, is that all right?
Yes, it's actually permitted. So yeah, what we usually do is the proof of concept needs to come as a package. So if it comes as a package, we're able to assess. As long as there's the innovation part of it, there's the impact part of it, and there's the innovation can be the product or the business model, And as long as you meet the POC criteria, whether it's a consortium of companies that is working on a specific product, it's allowed.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and as long as the lead implementer is admitted, I think that is that's okay. So, don't know if you have any other questions.
Yes,
I have a
hello.
question.
Right, maybe I can start with Mark.
So I have two questions. The first question is for the limited company, which documentation will you require someone to submit? Second question is, in case someone realizes that their needs, after the needs analysis is done, that they require more than the 10 million that is available, how can you link someone with the Kenya Climate Ventures? Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. So what documentation we may require? So during the due diligence process, what we ask for is a certificate of incorporation, the CR12, just to know who the directors are, if this organization is duly registered in Kenya. And as you've mentioned, yes, we have scenarios where we get, after needs analysis, we find out that what we are offering is actually less than what the company requires. And so what we do is, from our assessment, is we look if this is what, how well it fits within the climate, Kenya Climate Ventures. And then what we do, we work in form of a partnership. So we present or we propose these enterprises to them. They also have their own internal committees who assess these applications. And if they feel that it warrants their attention, or if they feel that there's a huge potential and there's an upside to invest into that business, then they proceed with the transaction independently. We also now, as I mentioned, try and source for other organizations who are also looking for pipeline to finance similar businesses. So impact investors who reach out to us, ask if we have a good pipeline of enterprises who feel that fit their bill, and we also just make proposals to them, and it's for them to make the final decision whether they proceed with the transaction. Yeah.
All right. Specifically, can I ask for the limited company, do you require tax compliance certificate?
Not at that inception point. So maybe those are things that you will work with the analysts just to make sure that you are fully compliant. But the basic is that you just need to have registered a company. So for compliance is something that you will work with the analysts just to make sure, in terms of all other regulatory requirements, that you're fully compliant.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, hello.
Hi, David.
Yeah, this is David Watoka from Appleton, Africa. Just two questions. My first one is just a clarification on the concessional lending. You said you provide concessional lending at 6%.
So,
and yeah, please go.
Yeah. Oh, no, please proceed, and then I'll be able to talk.
Yes, and my second question would be, you had mentioned your sister company, the Kenya Climate Ventures. So would it be more prudent for larger projects requiring access to larger funding to actually register directly with them, or should we still use the portal survey for registration or for application to your program?
All right. Maybe I can start with the second one. So the benefit for joining the GreenBiz program is over and above the financing. As we've mentioned, there's other upsides to it. So there's the technical support, where if there's any support, for instance, required to register intellectual property, business advisory, investor readiness. So there's a whole suite of products over and above the financing bit of it. That's the upside to GreenBiz. However,
okay,
if an entrepreneur feels that that is covered and all they need is the funding, then it would be more prudent for them to directly reach out to KCV because they also take in applications. For the concessional lending, as Nick mentioned, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So this is where you sit with the analyst, analyze the business, look at the cash flows. At the end of the day, we are not here to stifle any business. So we're very cognizant when you're giving out these facilities, who can pay at what rates. So this is not a one size fits all. So you sit down with the analyst, look at your financial, do a financial health check, able to assess the cash flows, and do a bit of stress testing. If you are given at this percent, then what will be the repercussions? So let me say it's not a one size fits all. So this is really, even the payment terms, the tenure of the loan, they're all custom made to fit all the entrepreneurs' needs in a different way.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hello.
Hello, hi.
Good morning. My name is Mary Situma.
Yes, Mary.
I did not get it clear. When somebody has participated in Agribiz, can they also participate in GreenBiz?
Nick, you can take that.
Bungoma County.
Yes, you can, but you have to participate in the accelerator. The GreenBiz has two forms of application. You can apply for our incubation program, and you can apply for our accelerator program. Now, if you're already in the Agribiz incubator program, the services are more basically the same as our GreenBiz incubator program. So that's why we usually extend application for Agribiz clients, but only for the accelerator program. That is if you meet the criteria for our accelerator program. But transitioning from the Agribiz incubator to the GreenBiz incubator, it becomes more duplication of services, which might not actually even benefit the entrepreneur. So we usually just open the accelerator for anybody who was in the Agribiz program. I hope I was clear, Marcy.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, Mary.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Dorothy.
Okay.
It's my first time doing these applications. I have just I had known about this GreenBiz, and I've now heard you say there is another one called the Agribiz. Yes. And I just need some clarity. Like I've not applied to any. I have this business idea that I've been working on. Well, I've done the training, so I'm yet to do the piloting. So I just need some directions. Do I apply for GreenBiz or I apply for Agribiz? And then I'm yet to register. So I don't know whether I'm to do it as a sole proprietorship or a limited proprietorship, but it is an agribusiness idea.
What you can do, Dorothy, is we have an info email, info@kenyacic.org. You can share with us your proposal on what you want to do. Then from there, we can be able to give you feedback on which program fits you on, and which program fits you, and the dates in which the program is taking in applications, and then you can be able to apply for the specific program that you're looking for. And for Agribiz program, it's based in the county. So if you need extra information regarding our Agribiz program, we can also direct you to the specific county in which you can be able to seek for clarity and more information.
It's not being applied for online, like I've checked.
It's online. Both of them are online, but for our Agribiz program, it's a bit more in the grassroots level. So we also have physical application forms, but for the GreenBiz program, it's purely an online application form. But my advice would be we will share with you this presentation. There's an email whereby you can put in your queries. So it will be easier because you said you're working on an idea, you can share with us a proposal of what you're doing under that email, and then we'll be able to advise you whether the GreenBiz program is more appropriate for you or the Agribiz program is more appropriate for you, so that before the deadline ends, you know which program to apply for. But for now, our Agribiz program is closed. If we see that you're fit for our Agribiz program, then we'll be able to advise you on the dates that the Agribiz program is open, and then you can be able to apply for that Agribiz program.
So the email to share that proposal is info@kcic.
KCIC.org, yes. There is the email.
Okay, thank you.
I've also seen a number of questions in the chat of people asking they had applied last year for Agribusiness program. They had to get any feedback. Some were visited. So for the Agribusiness program, the evaluations are currently ongoing. All communication regarding the Agribusiness program will be shared to you via email. For now, me and Kennedy and Priscilla are purely on the GreenBiz program. So for any queries regarding the Agribusiness program, you can also email info@kenyacic.org, and you can be able to be updated on what is happening under the Agribusiness program currently.
So if you want to know about any of our programs, please visit our website, the one I shared, and you'll be able to see all information on all programs, that is on Agribiz, GreenBiz, and what they entail, and just specific details of what it's all about.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a question for the procedure. So let's say the application goes through and our business analyst agreed. Then you are, as much as I understood, then you introduce it to the board. So let's say they also agreed. And what is the next step then? So I want to figure out how much time it takes until we could start when we get the funds.
So maybe I can be able to answer that.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of our funding process, once you and the business analyst have been able to develop our proposal, our board usually meets quarterly. So if you do it in March, the board will, if you do it in January, the board always meets maybe early March or late February, whereby once the application has been approved by the board, then now it's up to the entrepreneur and the business analyst to be able to come up with a grant agreement work plan. Once that work plan is approved by the management, it is the entrepreneur now signs a grant agreement. Once the grant agreement has been signed, now from there it's more disbursement. So that process can take up to 1 month. That process can take 2 weeks, depending on how fast the entrepreneur is and how fast actually it's fully dependent on the entrepreneur. Because once the board has approved and you've been given that communication that your grant has been approved, it's up to you and the business analyst to sit down and come up with a work plan. So it's up to the discretion of the entrepreneur how fast the process goes, because once the board has approved the funding, the other approval processes are more of the internal management approvals, which are quite fast. But now once you've signed the grant agreement and you've been able to present your documents for you to be able to disburse, we usually give our finance team a bit of time to be able to process that payment, because we usually give them between 14 to 21 days to process a payment due to specific procedures that we have to follow based on our donor. Once you are approved for financing, we also train you on the procurement procedures, because our donors are very what do we say? They are very strict on following procedures that have been stipulated for the use of funds. So we usually train you on what is required from you, from the donor, and what is required from you, from KCIC, how you need to go about your procurement procedures, how you need to account for the funds. And then now once we've done that, then now we start the disbursement process, and it takes between 14 to 21 days. But the process of, once approved by the board, the process between then and the signing of the grant agreement is usually up to the discretion of how fast the entrepreneur can be able to turn around the requested documents. Because also the board might give you maybe a condition of precedence. For example, they might tell you before any fund is given to the entrepreneur, they need to provide these following documents. Then once you provide these documents, then now we start the process. So it's usually at the discretion of how fast the entrepreneur can turn around the board recommendations, or how fast the entrepreneur can work with a business analyst to develop the relevant documentation required.
Okay, thank you.
Kennedy, just a few questions on the chat box. There's a question from Edwin Arunga asking, do you visit business sites during selection, it's purely online. A question also from Stephen asking, kindly share more about the concessional funding. Then Anita asks, is the deadline 20th February or 28th February? And also a question from Judy asking, what's the difference between the incubator and accelerator program? I can let you handle that as I read more after.
I think the first one I had tackled. So yes, as part of the due diligence, we'll come to facilities just to ascertain what is there, what was actually presented on the form, and what is actually on the ground. That's part of the due diligence process once you've been shortlisted as part of joining the program. That's a condition precedent. So before you actually formally join, so there's a due diligence visit that will happen. On your question between the difference between the incubation and the accelerator program. So the incubator basically caters for the very early stage businesses. So this is what you typically call startups. So these are people who are doing maybe even revenues less than $1 million, between 50,000 to maybe 5 million. And then we have the accelerator program, where it's for more advanced businesses. So these are businesses who have significant revenues, and essentially what they're doing is looking for financing to scale the activities even further. And essentially, or what happens mostly in the accelerator program is investor readiness, as opposed to what happens in the incubation program, is where we help you set up systems in the business, help you, be more structured as a company, be more visible, so help you with visibility, access to markets, and just more research, and just building strong structures in the business, internal structures. The deadline for the application is on the 28th of this month, as I had earlier mentioned, Stephen. So the concessional funding, so that is the early stage financing. It's, as Nick mentioned, a commercial facility, but offered at very low rates. So we, as ourselves, are here to build businesses as we try and have positive impacts towards the environment. So this funding is offered at, as I mentioned, tailor-make it so that it doesn't stifle your business, it doesn't stifle your cash flows, so that you can be able to grow organically and at an probably even at an accelerated rate, where now you are more enticing, or you can be able to access more traditional commercial financing. So ours is more of a bridge between yourselves and what is being offered out there in the market as commercial financing. So it's custom made. The terms, the repayment periods, for instance, the interest rates, the amounts, even how it's disbursed. It's all custom made for the different enterprises. So it's not a one size fits all. So once you get into the program and qualify for that financing, then it will be able to be structured specifically for the business that you're in. Molly, we'll have a look at that. Don't know what the problem is with that. So I don't know if there are any other questions. I think most of the ones on the chat box we've addressed. I only saw a couple where, if you have any challenges with the form, kindly shoot an email at info, and we'll have our IT specialists look at it.
Kennedy, I have another question to not the application, but later on to bring the documents and so far. So for example, we have a registered company and we are changing the shares, and we are waiting now since 2 years for the CR12 from the registration. When we have problems to get some documents together, which one you are required, are we getting assistance to put some pressures on authorities? Is that possible? Are you able to do something like that?
We always, as I mentioned, we also have a role in terms of enabling environment. We have contacts, we have conversations with them. So to say, we'll probably have a chat with them and just know what the problem is and see where we can help out. Yeah, because that is really, really external. But then we always try our best to see how then we can be of assistance to you. So as long as it's registered and that is the issue, then we can always see how we can help.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know if we have any other questions before we wrap up. All right. So I think then we are all good to go. Once again, thank you very much for making the time to join us today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. And
looking forward to receiving applications. We will share the recording as well as the presentation for further reference. In case of any challenges, as I've mentioned, feel free to do us an email at info@kenyacac.org, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. And have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye. Thank you so much.